The world holds its breath, a collective pause filled with uncertainty and apprehension. The news blares from every screen, painting a grim picture of escalating tensions and potential conflict. From Ukraine's front lines, where the echoes of artillery fire resonate across the ravaged landscape, to the South China Sea, a maritime arena where naval powers flex their muscles in a tense dance of dominance, dread hangs over the globe, a palpable weight pressing down on the hopes and dreams of billions. On August 6, 2025, a date etched in the annals of a future fraught with peril, the specter of global conflict feels more real, more imminent than at any time since the Cold War, a chilling reminder of the precarious balance that once held the world in check. Russian tactical nuclear weapons are being deployed in Belarus, a move that sends shivers down the spines of strategists and citizens alike, while American nuclear submarines reposition in a deadly chess game, a silent dance of destruction beneath the waves. Tensions in the Middle East and along NATO's borders are flaring, fueled by proxy wars and simmering resentments, keep military forces on high alert, their fingers hovering over the triggers of unimaginable power. The peace that held for decades is fraying, its threads unraveling under the strain of geopolitical pressures, threatened by renewed great power competition and failing diplomacy, leaving the world teetering on the brink. Ordinary people feel the anxiety, a gnawing unease that permeates daily life, rising costs that squeeze household budgets, cyber attacks that cripple infrastructure and steal personal data, and a sense that the world is sliding toward chaos, a feeling of helplessness in the face of overwhelming forces. The question is no longer if a major conflict could happen. The debate has shifted from possibility to probability, but what might trigger it, what spark will ignite the powder keg? The guardrails that prevented catastrophe for 80 years are being dismantled, piece by piece, agreement by agreement, leaving humanity on a knife's edge, balanced precariously between peace and annihilation. At the heart of global tension is the grinding war in Ukraine. What began in 2022 is now a brutal war of attrition, with both sides locked in a deadly stalemate. Russia and Ukraine, backed by their respective allies, escalate with ever more advanced weaponry. This arms race has fueled the rise of the Krink Axis, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, an informal alliance challenging Western dominance. These states deepen military and economic ties, coordinate messaging, and build alternative systems to bypass Western sanctions. The conflict in Ukraine is now a central front in a global struggle over world order. The stakes have never been higher. The delicate dance of diplomatic language, once a carefully constructed bridge between nations, has begun to crumble. The subtle nuances, the carefully chosen words designed to de-escalate tensions, are fading from the international stage. Now, diplomatic language has given way to stark threats and ominous warnings, amplified across news cycles and social media feeds. The world watches with bated breath as the tone shifts from negotiation to confrontation. Moscow's rhetoric is increasingly bellicose, a stark departure from previous attempts at measured dialogue. The language used is not just assertive, but actively aggressive. This increasingly aggressive stance is invoking the prospect of direct conflict with NATO, a scenario previously considered unthinkable by many. The stakes are rising with every statement, and Moscow is openly brandishing its nuclear arsenal, a chilling reminder of the potential consequences of miscalculation and escalation. The threat hangs heavy in the air. Western leaders respond with calls for strength and unity, attempting to project an image of unwavering resolve in the face of mounting pressure. These calls are coupled with warnings of escalation, a delicate balancing act between deterrence and provocation. The margin for error is shrinking rapidly, and as a result, Europe is rearming for the first time in decades, a tangible sign of the shifting geopolitical landscape and the growing sense of unease. This war of words, fought on television screens and in the halls of power, normalizes the idea of great power conflict, making the unthinkable seem increasingly plausible. The constant barrage of rhetoric is shrinking space for compromise, making it harder for diplomats to find common ground and de-escalate tensions. Every statement, every gesture is scrutinized for hidden red lines, potential triggers, and unspoken intentions, fueling further speculation and anxiety. This constant analysis is sending ripples through markets and diplomacy, creating a climate of instability and uncertainty that further exacerbates the situation. In this tense environment, the gap between rhetoric and reality is dangerously thin, a precarious line that could be crossed at any moment. A single miscalculation, a stray missile, a border skirmish, a misinterpreted signal could have catastrophic consequences. Any of these events could ignite a wider war, drawing in multiple nations and escalating the conflict beyond control. The greatest danger is that conflict becomes seen as inevitable, a self-fulfilling prophecy driven by fear, mistrust, and the relentless drumbeat of war. The risk of nuclear conflict has returned with a vengeance. The doomsday clock sits at 90 seconds to midnight, reflecting the erosion of arms control and rising tensions. Russia's deployment of tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus lowers the threshold for use and puts NATO on edge. The US counters with visible submarine deployments, signaling deterrence. Regional crises, like Iran's nuclear ambitions or proxy wars, could quickly spiral into global conflict. The old Cold War model is gone. Today's multipolar world is more unpredictable and dangerous. The nuclear shadow grows as global security becomes more brittle. Amid the ominous rumble of war drums, a palpable tension hangs in the air. Military preparations are underway, casting a long shadow over the prospect of peace. The atmosphere is thick with uncertainty, as nations brace themselves for what may come. Yet, even amidst this build-up of conflict, there are fragile, nascent efforts at diplomacy, flickering like candles in the wind. A high-stakes summit between US President Trump and Russia's Putin offers a glimmer of hope, a potential pathway towards de-escalation and understanding. The world watches with bated breath, hoping for a breakthrough. But beneath the surface, mistrust runs deep, a legacy of decades of geopolitical rivalry and ideological clashes. Skepticism abounds, threatening to undermine any progress made. Tense talks with Ukraine's Zelensky highlight the agonizing dilemma at the heart of the conflict: how to end the war and secure lasting peace without sacrificing national sovereignty or rewarding aggression. It's a delicate balancing act, fraught with peril. The world stands at a critical juncture, facing two starkly different futures. One path leading towards a fragile ceasefire and an imperfect peace, a compromise born of necessity, or the alternative, continued escalation, a descent into a new, even more dangerous Cold War with unpredictable consequences. The first path, the path to peace, demands unwavering commitment to compromise, sustained diplomacy, and a willingness to bridge seemingly unbridgeable divides. The second path, the path of escalation, risks direct military confrontation between NATO and Russia, a scenario that was once unthinkable. This confrontation carries with it terrifying nuclear consequences, a threat that looms large over the entire world. The choice between these futures, between peace and potential annihilation, is the defining challenge of our time, a test of our collective wisdom and resolve. The stakes could not be higher, for the future of humanity hangs in the balance. We stand at a crossroads, peril or possibility. The path of escalation is familiar: nationalism, military buildup, and the belief in victory through force. Experts warn of repeating history's mistakes as rising powers challenge the established order. The alternative, de-escalation, requires courage, renewed arms control, and global cooperation. The erosion of treaties has made the world more dangerous. Reversing this must be a priority. The fate of millions hangs on whether leaders and citizens choose peace over war. This is a moment for active global citizenship and support for diplomacy. The world teeters on a precipice. Our collective will determines which way it falls.